Copeland playing Crabvine on the right-hand side. Chris Iaali playing humans. Really interested to see how this one plays out. And I think this Crabvine deck will have some legs in Modern. I expect to see more of this as time goes on. Well, we might have sides reversed here. We will get that squared away for you. That is Chris Iaali on your left, playing the humans deck. Just going to start with some fetching. Watery Grave, facing down a champion of the parish. Follow up to that champion of the parish. It is going to be a Kitesail Freebooter. Lonely Hedron Crab on the battlefield for Ty Copeland. Looks like the decision is going to be easy for Kitesail Freebooter. Going to go ahead and grab Glimpse the Unthinkable, one of the key engine cards. Of note, Carrion Feeder in this Crabvine list. I don't think that's always included. Like it though, get a little extra value out of those Grave Crawlers.
Yeah, and it's just another zombie that ends up in play to cast the Grave Crawler from the graveyard. I think Chris is a little bit fortunate here that there was such a juicy payoff and is almost the only payoff in the opponent's hand.
Yeah. Yeah, I think this is a matchup where you're not super thrilled about that Kitesail Freebooter, but is getting some good utility out of it here.
No fetch land, that's a little rough.
Yeah, would prefer to get double mull, but did find a Creeping Chill. Pad the old life total a bit. We've definitely seen Creeping Chill be absolutely key for this Crabvine deck. It really makes the difference so many times in these racing situations. And a little bit of follow-up from Ty Copeland here. A couple of one-drops, Carrion Feeder and Gravecrawler. Nothing too explosive coming out of the graveyard yet.
Yeah, if Ty doesn't get a little more graveyard churn going on where he gets a lot of free cards that way, this is not going to be a good matchup for him.
Here's a Mantis Rider from Chris Iaali.
And I like this nice aggressive start from Chris.
Yeah, this is how you get it done. Get a little pressure going. Ty thinking if he has to maybe make a block with that crab already.
Yeah, I mean, I can't imagine he can block with it here when he has no other way to get cards into his graveyard.
So he is just going to take the damage. Ty takes a draw. Does find a fetch land here. Going to respond to the Hedron Crab's first trigger with a fetch. Wants to make sure he can get the exact land he's looking for. Looking over Chris Iaali's deck list, nothing too groundbreaking here. We are looking at two Charming Prince. This is a card which has found its way into these humans list. What do you think about Charming Prince in humans, Craig?
Honestly, it's been not as exciting as I think a lot of people thought it was going to be.
Okay. Maybe a bit of a win more. You have to already have a nice juicy target for it. Not too pleased to be scrying or gaining life with it.
Yeah, the humans decks had a lot of the... They had a few flex spots to play with. Mm-hmm. So if that's what you're doing with the last two slots in the deck, I can see it. Sometimes you play that recruiter effect where you can go searching for another card.
Shaping up to be a decent turn here for Ty Copeland. We see Narcomoeba off one of those Hedron Crabs. And now we're doing some Carrion Feeder shenanigans to cast this Gravecrawler twice. And that means it's Vengevine time. Leafy Menace popping out of the graveyard. Still going to keep grinding on this Gravecrawler. Get that Carrion Feeder just a bit bigger.
Yeah, and then Narcomoeba was big because it's just such an effective chump blocker. He's been
absolutely
behind in this game, not the most explosive start, and buying that extra turn is going to be huge for him.
Ty trying to find a way to grab some of the aggression here.
All right, that carrion feeder's got to get frisky here.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. You didn't play carrion feeder not to attack with it.
Well, and he's got plenty of chaff to sacrifice to it anyway.
Yep.
The grave crawlers can't be blocking, so I can't imagine that the opponent's going to trade their Mantis Rider for you sacrificing a grave crawler.
No. Not sure where we are right now. Maybe still debating attacks? No, it looks like just Vengevine attacking here. I'm not thrilled about that. Reflector Mage, the draw for Chris Iaali. That's a nice one.
Yeah, I'm not sure what else Chris has in his hand. But Reflector Mage may be the nice one that, you know, knocks a Narcomoeba off the table next turn, or whatever the potential blocker might be.
Looks like we're just going to attack here. Post-combat. Now Reflector Mage.
Brian, I kind of wish each of these players were taking more aggressive lines in this game.
I agree with you, Craig. I agree. So we're going to go ahead and bounce that carrion feeder. What do you think about Champion not attacking last turn?
Yeah, I feel like it needed to get in the red zone. You still have two potential blockers with your Reflector Mage and your Mantis Rider.
Yeah.
So if Chris's life total is still quite high. So if things start to go really wrong, you know, he still has two blocks that he can be making.
Right.
And with Ty at 7, having him either chump block with his crab or be down to 3, where just about any attacker is lethal, would be a much better place to be in this game.
I agree with you there, Craig. Looks like the draw was a Merfolk Secret Keeper for Ty Copeland, so we can get some more graveyard shenanigans going.
Yeah, he's in a spot where he can get 3 more cards off of the crab, 4 cards off of the Secret Keeper.
I guess Chris just fearing a super explosive Vengevine turn.
Oh, and that Creeping Chill is so big.
Yeah, can't forget about those Creeping Chills either. Chris going to fall to 10, Ty back up to 10. Free Lightning Helix. Free Millifex. Another free Lightning Helix.
So
Who
good.
pays mana for spells these days? In this economy, you're really going to spend your mana on spells? Get out of here.
In this economy? Look at you.
Another Creeping Chill. Chris Iaali down to 7. Ty up to 13. Well, now maybe I appreciate this defensive posture. I don't know. Doesn't seem like things will get better for Chris as the game goes on, but... Here comes Vengevine.
I think we chump block here. I think if I'm on Chris's side of the table, I put the Reflector Mage in front of the Vengevine.
Second Reflector Mage in hand. Mantis Rider in hand.
Yeah, the Mantis Rider is just too important as an evasive creature.
Yep.
The champion next turn is going to tick up to a 5/5 and then can just block for the rest of the game.
Sure. I agree with you. I would like that block here.
And also, if you trade with it, that Vengevine's coming back this turn.
Mm-hmm. And Chris will make that block.
Yeah, pretty important to stay above 3 life just in case that last Creeping Chill comes off the top of the library or is in the opponent's hand.
Cast a couple more creatures, send the turn back to Chris. Draws Phantasmal Image. If I'm Chris, I'm just putting together this Mantis Rider Assault Force, looking to end the game next turn. Yeah, here's another Mantis Rider. Like you said, that Champion of the Parish now can effectively block that Vengevine. 3 flyers come in. Ty going to fall to 6.
The Vigilant Mantis Rider is just so good at tussling with all the smaller creatures that show up out of the Crabvine deck. So having the 5/5 champion is pretty sweet.
I have to say, now with knowing the texture of Chris's hand, knowing there's another Mantis Rider rolled up, I see the argument for keeping Champion of the Parish back, playing a little bit more defensive. Just thinking, I just have to survive on the ground. Eventually, these Mantis Riders will end the game. Still angry at that no carrion feeder attack, though, on Ty's side.
Yeah, that seemed like it was just a free 3, 4, maybe even 5 points of damage if after the opponent doesn't block.
Yeah.
You can sacrifice a bunch of your grave crawlers to it.
Well, we're going to get to doing some milling again. And this could certainly put a wrench.
Oh, he's paying a bunch of life here.
Into Chris's plans. Yeah, well, now maybe not.
Well, yes, I believe Ty has a Vengevine in his hand.
Okay.
So that's the second green source, untapped, to cast the Vengevine.
Okay. So can Ty force one of those Mantis Riders to have to chump block? Here's a Narcomy, but there's a Creeping Chill. 4 Creeping Chills is pretty nice, have to say. That can swing the game pretty dramatically. This is still good for Chris if he can survive without having to chump with those Mantis Riders.
Oh, and he's got another Vengevine in the graveyard. That's a good hit, too. He's really just been very fortunate to run off so many payoffs here.
Yeah, I didn't see that other Vengevine hit. That is big.
And does he have another Gravecrawler or something in the graveyard to bring back the third Vengevine? And it looks like the answer is yes. Okay, the Carrion Feeder out of his hand. Yep, we knew about that one.
And now this Vengevine is going to come back, and that is going to do it. I mean, that was an incredible run of luck off the top of Ty's deck there. Finding the 4th Creeping Chill, finding the Vengevine, just all the pieces lined up to be able to steal that game for Ty Copeland.
Yeah, I really thought Ty was in a real bad spot that game.
Very swingy matchup. That is my expert assessment now of the humans versus Crabvine matchup.
I think if Chris had been a little more aggressive, that Crab would have had to chump block earlier in the game.
Maybe.
Or
maybe
Ty would have been in a position where the attackers could have just killed him.
Right.
That extra turn was just so critical there.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of coulda, woulda, shoulda we could break down with that game. It's unclear what the ripple effects would have been, but unquestionably, Ty Copeland taking down game 1. And now we're going to head to the sideboards. And why don't we start over on Chris Iaali's side? There you see for Chris. I mentioned these decks for a while, picked up Leyline. Not anymore.
Nope.
And honestly, I don't know exactly what we're going to find here. We're looking at 2 Damping Sphere, 2 Combo Council of Allocation, 2 Dismember, 2 Unsettled Mariner, 2 Collector Roof, 2 Deputy of Detention, 1 Militia Bugler, 1 Plague Engineer, 1 Phyrexian Revoker. What do you think, Craig?
So I like the 2 Deputy of Detention. These Crabvine decks don't play a whole lot of removal, so just being able to clean up like multiple copies of a creature and have them gone basically for the entire game is going to be real important. And I like the Plague Engineer as well.
I agree with you. Those cards seem fine. I also might give a little consideration to Militia Bugler, just because its sizing is actually pretty good. And if you have a creature you don't like, it could be Militia Bugler is a fine replacement. Not saying it's great, but I have a feeling that Chris might be able to find an upgrade somewhere in his deck.
Sure, the Bugler's a strange card to me because you're never that excited about having it in the deck,
sure,
but it's never that bad when you draw it either.
The most medium of cards.
Yes.
Sometimes that's all you're looking for. Meanwhile, over on Ty Copeland's side, we are looking at 4 Force of Negation, 3 Thoughtseize, 3 Fatal Push, 2 Ancient Grudge, 2 Assassin's Trophy, and an Alpine Moon. What do you like if you're Ty?
So Ty's in this weird spot because he doesn't know exactly what his opponent has coming out of his sideboard. In a world of perfect information, I like the 3 Fatal Push and nothing else. But we might also see these Assassin Trophies come in just as a hedge against potential graveyard hate out of the opponent's side.
Makes sense to me. What do you like going into game 2? Do you think one side gets an upgrade over the other? One side adds a few percentage points?
So the Humans deck is going to be on the play this game, which makes me swing that direction. I don't think the sideboards for either player swing things wildly one way or the other.
Okay.
We saw Ty have kind of a mopey start that game, but then just so fortunate with tons of payoffs in the mid to late game.
The mills were fantastic.
Fantastic. They really were. So I think for the match, I would pick the Crabvine player.
Okay. I got to tell you, Craig, I'm really excited about this next ad read we're going to do because it combines two of my passions. One, playing limited. Two, spending money on Magic cards. And what we have here is the Star City Games Players Cube. This is the cube y'all put together over the past couple months as you voted on what was going to be played at SCGCon. This is an all-commons cube. And you can actually order this cube in its entirety from SCG. You pre-order today, it ships Friday, November 15th, or you can pick it up at SCGCon Winter. Craig and I will be there. Maybe pick up one of these Players Cube. And it's got 35 of each basic land, and those beautiful sleeves you see right there, ready to just sleeve up your Players Cube, have it ready to go. You head over to go.starcitygames.com/playerscube for more information on that one. I think I'll pick that up at SCGCon. Carry that around with me. We can pick up some pickup games between rounds.
Confirm for me, this is how I believe this works.
Okay.
That Players Cube is what people are going to use to qualify for our bigger cube event at SCGCon.
I think that is correct. I'm getting confirmation now that it's exactly how it works.
And then you get to use that fully powered cube that we have.
Correct.
That is super exciting with quite the juicy prize pool to it.
Yep. All types of Magic being played at SCGCon. I went to the last SCGCon as a participant, not a caster. Had a really good time. Won a Mox Ruby.
Yes, you did.
All around good weekend. Looks like Chris Iaali going to go ahead and mulligan here, as is Ty Copeland.
Yeah, I didn't see Ty's hand, but Chris's was definitely a mulligan. He was looking at a whole bunch of lands, and then a couple of 3-drops and a 1/2 flyer, which just is not the pressure that he's looking to get onto the board.
Not going to get the job done. Ty with a copy of Driven Despair in the deck.
Tell us about that card.
Aftermath card from Amonkhet. One side reads, the side you can play from your hand, Driven, reads, until end of turn, creatures you control gain trample. Whenever this creature deals combat damage to a player, draw a card. Despair, the Aftermath side, which you cast from the graveyard, until end of turn, creatures you control gain menace. And whenever this creature deals combat damage to a player, that player discards a card for 1 colorless, 1 black. There you see Driven to Despair.
That's actually a kind of a spicy card where you can mill it in your graveyard for free. And then the menace portion of that can just really blow out an opponent that plans on blocking.
I saw this occasionally in Hogak decks. It never became a staple, but it would pop up from time to time. Believe Chris found an acceptable 6. Ty did not. Going to head to 5. Ty Copeland has been driven to despair now.
Did it to himself.
Right.
Can we get some elk jokes in there?
Nope. Elk jokes are canceled for today, Craig.
Oh, for the entire day?
Yep.
Well, that's exciting.
Yeah. Just going to call it as I see it.
We're getting an entire elk break.
Ty with the rare mid-shuffle judge question. Don't see that one come up all that often.
It might be a question about a deck list.
Yeah, maybe asked to see his own deck list. That's possible. And Ty has found a satisfactory answer. Gonna head back to the table and present to Chris. Gives a cut, and now Ty is going to look for an acceptable 5 cards among these 7.
Man, how nice is it when you mulligan?
It's so nice. It's
just
so
put
nice.
some of your payoff cards on the bottom of your deck.
You're going to get to shuffle them
you
at some point.
shuffle them back in with your fetch land.
Yeah. Look, every deck benefits from the London Mulligan, but that's a particularly feel-good interaction. You love putting back those creeping chills. Ty going to go ahead and lead on a Hedron Crab. Chris Iaali has Ether Vial.
Yeah, it looks like Ty has one of those double crab starts, which could potentially mill just a bajillion cards.
Yeah. I didn't see a fetch land in Ty's hand, but still, double crab, very nice start. Thalia going to be the play from Chris Iaali. And on one of Mulligan's that Chris did, you did see Kitesail Freebooter in hand, right?
Yes.
I wonder if maybe Ty being a little punished by a lack of familiarity with this list.
Sure, yeah, there's not a whole lot of hits for that. You know, you're looking at the 4 Glimpse the Unthinkable, some Creeping Chills, and that Driven to Despair, and then the rest are all creatures in the deck.
Right, and I was thinking similarly about this Thalia. Does Ty have to pay a mana when that Creeping Chill gets exiled? I don't think you do. Because you don't cast it, you just exile it and do 3 damage.
Yeah, we're not casting the card.
Right. So that means Thalia's hits are only Glimpse the Unthinkable, and it should not be in Chris's deck at this point, I think. Unless you're really prioritizing the body and just couldn't find other sideboard cards, too. I mean, we talked about Militia Bugler being, like, the best thing you can add, so...
Yes, when you're looking at, you know, taking out a whole bunch of Kitesail Freebooters, a whole bunch of Thalias.
He's got the Freebooters in his hands, too.
I'm just saying that there's not that many cards in the sideboard that you want to bring in.
Right. No, I agree with you, but I am concerned about what got cut here for Chris and what remains in the deck. I obviously don't know what the cuts were, but... Just trying to think of what else we can look at besides these Freebooters and Thalias. Meddling Mage. I mean, there's a lot of bad cards in the deck, quite frankly, for this matchup. I would rather have the Meddling Mage, though, than something like Kitesail Freebooter. A couple of Narcomoebas on the battlefield now for Ty Copeland. Here's Thalia's Lieutenant. Going to respond to that Thalia's Lieutenant with the Kitesail Freebooter. That's going to miss. No surprise there. And a couple of counters for the whole squad.
And Chris is going to need to continue deploying, you know, significant threats or 1 to 2 cards every turn. He does have the Horizon Canopies that he can cash in as this game goes on.
That's big. With Ether Vial, there's a way for Chris to generate some card advantage here.
But this start hasn't been super aggressive.
No.
And, you know, Ty hasn't hit a whole lot of his payoffs, but we saw the first game where if the game goes long enough, you know, his deck just gets more and more dense with good cards that he's going to mill over.
Yeah, he'll find them. Double Hedron Crab, too, means that his lands are live as well. So a lot of good draws off the top of the deck. Here's just a hard cast Narcomoeba.
A few bad draws as well.
Yeah, not the best. Turn passes back to Chris Iaali. Draws Ether Vial. Didn't tick up Ether Vial either.
Yeah, I think one of his better payoffs is something like Mantis Rider that, you know, Ty either has to chump block each turn or trade all 3 of his flyers in order to get off of the board.
Yeah.
And he can't cast that with his lands currently.
Right. You're saying Ether Vial probably should have went to 3?
Yeah, I think so. Ooh, and this is a little rough too. He's got to pay 2 for the second Ether Vial because of Thalia, which means he doesn't have the mana open to cash in that Horizon Canopy this turn.
Right. Getting a little squeezed by his own cards. It's Chris Iaali. Turn passes back to Ty. Takes a draw. It's another bad one. Vengevine.
Yeah, he really needs to hit a land to get his whole deck rolling again.
Now that Ether Vial is going to head to 3. Chris takes a draw. I think it was a Mantis Rider. My quick read. Let's see if I was correct. We're going to start cashing in these Horizon Canopies, Craig.
Was a Mantis. Every now and then, Brian.
I know.
You know, they make it look like I know what I'm talking about.
Yep.
And then the rest of the time, just kind of babble on about things.
Right.
Yeah.
Thalia's lieutenant going to go ahead, get a counter.
Let's get aggressive here.
You got to do something, Chris. Every land off the top of Ty's deck is terrifying. So we are going to spend 3 mana on a Reflector Mage. Okay.
Not the most exciting card, but,
No.
but it's doing something.
Yeah, forcing through a little damage, making sure that Mantis Rider is safe in the air.
And I like that.
Now it's time to attack.
It just opens up everything.
Yep.
But even without it, like, who cares if he triple blocks your freebooter? You're getting in for a ton of damage. You still kill 2 of those things.
Yep.
There's not even a card under the freebooter. Or if he triple blocks the Mantis Rider, you're happy there. This is just. It all works.
It all works. This is icing on the cake. Ty going to look at some blocks here. Is going to go ahead and make a chump now. Preserve that life total a bit. You understand why. This is a fearsome force headed Ty's way.
Okay, but
Going
if
to
we're
take 9 damage.
chump blocking, we needed to block the lieutenant because it's just a little bit bigger.
Sure. Makes sense to me. Let's see if that 1 point costs Ty.
Oh, we might make this exciting. We actually drew the fetch land.
All right. That means 12 cards going to be headed to the bin. Going to go ahead and fetch in response to those first 2 Hedron Crab triggers. Ty going to fall to 6, though. Really wants to find some more of that Creeping Chill magic.
Yeah, he knew 1 was on the bottom of his library from the mulligan.
Yeah, gets a little shuffle action here.
Gets to shuffle that one back into the deck along with that Vengevine as well.
Searching for the right land here.
What a tease it is to have the double Hedron Crab start and just...
Never find a fetch land.
Well, yeah, you find it like the turn before you're going to die to all of these humans on the other side of the board.
I will tell you, fetch land goes a long way to making it so you're not about to die. With just a little bit of luck, a little bit of that Creeping Chill magic that we saw in the last game. Can Ty summon it one more time here? Let's see what's headed to the bin. Fatal Push, Gravecrawler, Stitcher's Supplier. Creeping Chill, Fatal Push, land.
Mystery card.
Let's go back for 2 more grab triggers. Couple lands and a Hedron Crab. That's a blank. 1 more try. Secret Keeper, Prized Amalgam, Secret Keeper. Okay. That was somewhere in the middle. That wasn't quite the magic of the last game. Is it going to be enough to keep Ty alive?
Yeah, Ty's at 9 after getting that life. He's got really a lot of chump blockers on the ground right now.
Mm-hmm.
And Chris has dealt himself a lot of damage with these 2 Horizon Canopies throughout this game. It's one of those situations where if Ty gets another decent mill, lives through 1 more turn, gets to mill himself another time.
Oh, yeah.
He may have, be able to steal this one. A Vengevine out of nowhere. Might take multiple Vengevines or just more Creeping Chills.
So we're going to go searching for a Gravecrawler from the bin. And yet another Gravecrawler from the bin. That means Prized Amalgam is going to come back on the next turn. Ready for combat. Move to the end step. There is the Amalgam coming back tapped. So we've got 3 blockers. Double Crab, Narcomoeba. Chris, no cards in hand. Ty at 9 life.
If we get a draw step, I imagine we're cracking a canopy right away.
Would assume so. Vials on 2 and 3. Yep, there's that canopy crack.
If we draw a land, we get another redraw because we crack the other canopy.
Yep. 2 cards in hand. They basically have to be playable. There's almost nothing that is going to rot in Chris's hand here, given his present setup. Like you said, Lanterns on Canopy, Vial on 2 and 3. Champion of the Parish, about the only quote-unquote bad draw.
Oh, more damage.
Chris is going to fall back to 6, but is going to get another draw. Can't quite make out the contents of his hand at this point, but 2 in hand. 2 crucial cards here for Chris in a very, very tight game. Time to activate that Vial. Mantis Rider. Okie doke.
3, 6, 7, 8 in the air.
Still with a Vial on 2. That's a scary Vial. A lot of stuff could happen there. Phantasmal Image, another Thalia's Lieutenant. It makes blocking very complicated for Ty.
And this is so tough if you're Chris. You really want to make him chump block and get those crabs off of the board, but you're also just terrified. You're only at 6 life. He's got a pretty big army that can attack back at you next turn.
I think I would have liked Thalia joining this attack. Let's see how this plays out.
Yeah, I think I think I would have preferred we got the crabs off of the table. The big scary thing for me is if he draws another fetch land and he can go digging for multiple creeping chills.
Yeah, and here's a Meddling Mage. That's going to be the follow-up here. We'll figure out exactly what that is naming. Naming Narcomoeba.
That one makes sense. Shut down a potential chump blocker that you know is in the opponent's hand.
Yeah, I really wish that Thalia attacked, Craig. I think that was mostly a free attack. I mean, there are circumstances where that goes wrong.
Yeah, so looking at it, I mean, Chris has like so many blockers where even 2 Vengevines coming back this turn, he can block all of them.
Right.
But if you get the crabs off of the board, the chances that your opponent is able to get to 2 Vengevines are so slim.
Right, and now we're going 12 deep, and really anything's possible. You might just get burned out of this game, and it might be completely irrelevant.
Yes.
Let's see if Ty can find some more dredging magic. Ty's thinking about whether he has to respond to that crab trigger. It looks like the answer is no. All right, we're doing this here for some reason. There's a Prized Amalgam. There's a Vengevine. So no immediate payoff. Yeah. What are we doing here?
Yep. We need to sacrifice that fetch land before we start.
Yep. Okay, we caught it.
Yep. No harm, no foul.
Chris says, "Get these out of my face. I don't want to see them anymore." So no grave crawlers in the bin right now, I believe.
Yeah, it's important that he hit, some cheap creatures that he can cast. I don't know all of Ty's hand right now, but obviously in order to get the Vengevines back, he has to cast 2 creatures this turn.
Right.
We see 3 of the grave crawlers already in play, so it's going to be a tough ask.
Ty also had a very precarious 2 life now.
But all those creeping chills are alive.
Yeah.
2 still left in the deck.
6 more mills. There's Creeping Chill number 1. And now Chris is going to sweat a little bit. Falls to 3. Ty goes to 5. 3 more cards coming off the top of the deck. Catacombs, Amalgam, Vengevine. I don't think that's going to do it for Ty Copeland here. Not exactly sure what's in hand, but facing a lethal swingback, meddling mage naming your flying blocker. This creature's going to head into the red zone for some free attacks. Makes sense. Line up a few blocks.
Yeah, all these bad boys are going to die. He's going to cast the grave crawlers from the graveyard to get back the Vengevines as blockers. But
no answer for Mantis Rider.
The Flying Armada is still there to take down this game.
Yeah, there are those grave crawlers. That means Vengevine able to come back. Also means those amalgams will be coming back. But I think Chris just untaps, attacks, and wraps this up. Any cards in hand? 2 cards in hand. Possible one could be a fatal push. And like if Chris attacks improperly, that'll be good enough. But Chris has to make a mistake for this not to just end the game. And there's the Thalia on the battlefield.
Yeah, the Thalia
anyway.
Prevents it.
Yeah, this is a wrap.
Oh, he's got the other Creeping Chill in his hand.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that's kind of wild.
Yeah, drew the Creeping Chill. And that means we are headed to a game 3 between Chris Iaali, Ty Copeland.
So the Thalia, it actually mattered that last turn.
Yeah, it absolutely did. Looks like I don't know what I'm talking about, Craig. Keep those Thalias in, I guess.
Oh, man.
Did nothing the entire game. Page on the last possible turn.
It did. It tussles in combat pretty well with its first strike.
Yep, it does.
And we saw Ty just have a pretty slow, mediocre start there. And still, just as the game goes on...
He was on a multi-5.
Well, he just has access to so many resources. When your graveyard is one of your resources...
Right.
He just gets to see so many cards, and he doesn't have to spend mana for so many of his spells.
I'm coining a new metric in Magic, Craig. Do you know what APM is, if I say that to you? You play a little bit of video games.
Actions per minute?
Actions per minute,
sure.
Correct. And often StarCraft players were talked about in terms of their actions per minute.
Yep.
Defined how technical of a player they were, what their per minute things they could accomplish were capped at.
Exactly. It's how quickly they're managing their resources.
Right. Modern decks should be looked at in actions per turn, APT. And the best modern decks take a tremendous number of actions per turn because they leverage free mana, inherent synergies. You know, when you see Urza go off and it just taps all of its things and is shuffling its deck all the time, huge amount of actions per turn. Crabvine, huge amount of actions per turn.
Yep.
And a lot of those decks recover very well from mulligans. That's one of their features. Humans, however, not a huge actions per turn deck. Basically, you're looking at 1 or 2 actions per turn, hoping it's good enough. I think the new face of Modern is high actions per turn. That's the way you build decks now.
Yeah, well, and a corollary to that is that you're getting access to so many free or very cheap cards.
Absolutely.
We see the artifact decks just really leveraging 0 mana cards, paying 1 for Emery, and similarly the Crabvine deck just is not paying mana for a lot of these spells and getting huge payoffs for it.
Maybe I can talk Cedric into putting out a bulletin about my new metric over in the SCG newsletter. My favorite picture on display now.
Look, it's you.
But this is your source for Magic the Gathering news, highlights from our articles, upcoming SCG tour dates, SCG IQs near you, and of course SCG game nights near you. And you get to sign up for free at go.starcitygames.com/newsletter. We can replace this old horrible slide with this horrible picture of me, get a fresh picture of me, and it will say the new metric for Modern is APT, actions per turn.
No, Living End is back, Brian.
Okay. All right, Craig, let's do this again.
It was on the screen.
That's true. If you read it on the internet, it's got to be true.
Are you? Well, you're the one that said it.
I know. I would trust me. Look at that face. How could you not trust me?
Are you telling me Living End is not back?
Maybe in that moment, it was back from the dead.
Living End deals very cleanly with elk.
Oh, very true, Craig. Very true. A lot of times your creatures are so bad in Living End, you're happy when they're turned into elks. Thank you. You have upgraded me. It's like both players keeping 7 here. I saw a bunch of Narcomoebas in Ty's hand, I thought. Yeah, a couple.
But he does have the Crab Fetchland start.
Mm-hmm. Ether Vial start for Chris Iaali.
So optimal starts for both players.
Yeah. Glimpse the unthinkable, too, off the top for Ty Copeland. Going to be able to put a lot of cards in the bin this turn. 16 to be precise. Going to go ahead and respond to that crab trigger. Yeah, it's wild. So Ty basically kept his hand without hesitation with 3 blanks. At least I can see a Narcomoeba Vengevine. Not sure what that middle card was, but still snaps it off just based on the strength of Hedron Crab.
Yeah, this deck is very similar to Dredge, in where you just need to get the ball rolling.
Yep.
And then, you know, you don't have a ton of control, but you just hope to get a little bit lucky from there. But the enablers are just the most important part of what you're doing.
Absolutely. Ty beating himself up a little bit. Already down to 14 just off double fetch, double shock. But we are going to put 6 in the bin now. Can we find 6 nice ones? Avengevine's pretty good. Other 2 are blanks. Creeping Chill, there you go. Creeping Chill sounds good. And a Gravecrawler.
Yeah, a lot of good ones.
Well, about that life loss.
Right back in it?
Yep. Swing those life totals around. Chris Iaali falling to 14. Ty back to 20.
If it's free, it's you.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Correct, Craig. Now we will glimpse the unthinkable. Looks like we passed on bringing back Avengevine this turn, right? We could have went Gravecrawler, Gravecrawler. Instead, choosing to get some more cards in the bin. That's a good reason why. Get that prized amalgam on the next turn. How about the 3rd Creeping Chill?
Yeah, also you're giving yourself a chance to hit way more Vengevines.
Sure, absolutely.
And if you only have the 2 creatures to deploy potentially once, it might be prudent to wait that extra turn.
I am fine with the decision. I think it makes sense. Ether Vial going to tick up to 1. Chris takes his draw and is like, how am I at 11?
Yeah.
This doesn't make any sense.
It's turn 2. His opponent's milled over almost half his library.
Another Ether Vial. This is not going to hold up.
We don't have a land either.
This is not going to hold up to the texture of Ty's start. Drew a Stitcher Supplier as well.
Oh, that's a great one,
nice,
too.
Nice draw. Yeah, Windmill Slam that. See what we can find in those 3 cards. And then we have Gravecrawler ready to go. Stitcher Supplier, of course, a zombie.
Yeah, we're going to get all the Vengevines back.
Narcomoeba, sounds good. I'll
Prize
take that.
amalgams come back.
Yep. Now we're going to cast Gravecrawler from the bin. That's going to trigger Vengevine. Prized amalgam, like you said, Craig. It's time to beat down.
And Chris is at 11. It's just so absurd.
Nope, now he's at 7.
I know. It's just wild that, Ty's, just cast 1-drops the entire game.
Yep.
The opponent's at 7.
Ty with 11 power on the battlefield. Chris says, yeah, Noble Hierarch. What you think about that? Low APT on Chris's side right now.
Yeah, and the Hierarch's a tough one. He's got the champion in his hand, but he's got to get more resources on the board and more mana access.
You do not want to draw 3 Ether Vials.
Yeah, he's missing another land drop. Yeesh.
Gonna tap that unclaimed territory. Spend a little bit of mana here. Assume champion. Nope, it's another Ether Vial. Yeah, only the 1/1 drop makes sense. Just use the Vial on champion.
Well, he's got a ton of 3-drops too.
Yeah, given time, this hand would develop nicely, but as it stands, I don't know if Chris is going to get another turn. Ty takes a draw.
Oh.
How about a little Hedron Crab action? Gonna fetch in response. Ty at 22 life, despite brutalizing himself with his lands.
Yeah.
Free spells, Craig. A little shuffle before we put 6 more cards in the bin. Anything juicy for a tie? Prized Amalgam. 2 Prized Amalgams. Narcomoeba. Gravecrawler. Here comes Narcomoeba. Gravecrawler is going to ensure that both those Prized Amalgams come back.
Yeah, and you know, tie might not win this turn, but
it looks inevitable at this point.
The tide of zombies is just crashing down on Chris.
Yep. Look, we talked about the Simic Wurza deck being the story of this tournament. If there's a second story, it's Crabvine. This deck has looked impressive.
Yeah, we saw a decent number of our bigger name players show up and play this strategy as well.
Yeah, the folks on Team Mythicos seeming to like this strategy quite a bit. I know Kane Reinhardt, Oliver Tomiko, all picking up Crabvine. We, of course, did a deck tech yesterday with Oliver Tomiko. We'll get that back up on screen for you after this round. Make that happen. You can learn a little bit more about their approach to Crabvine. Meanwhile, Chris Iaali trying to stay alive this turn, going to put a few blockers onto the battlefield in the form of Champion, Thalia's Lieutenant.
Yeah, like I said, he can make the blocks this turn.
He'll survive.
But I can't imagine he gets by next turn.
Right there with you, Craig. So we can just start casting these Narcomoebas from hand. This battlefield's going to get loaded up. I'm going to block Stitcher Supplier as well.
Yeah, you don't want to take the damage, but you really don't want to give your opponent another 3 cards off of their deck.
Yeah. So a bit of damage headed Chris's way, down to 3. 3 more cards about to be milled, sweating that last Creeping Chill maybe. Secret Keeper, Supplier, Catacombs. Survives. That's all you can hope for here. Narcomoeba from hand, Gravecrawler from the graveyard. 2 more Prized Amalgams coming back. And the turn heads back to Chris. Chris needing a miracle here. Horde of Ether Vials at the ready. Gonna need some spicy ones. And I mean, I don't even know what it looks like. Deputy Detention's nice.
Yeah, I mean, this
Haven't seen that card, by the way, in post-board games, so I'm not positive it's there, but...
This game was very lopsided. Game 2, I think, was a great game. Game 1 was a great game. I think Game 1 is where Chris needed to find the path to victory.
Yeah, now with his hand the way it is, Reflector Mage, Mantis Rider. Can you cobble this together to stay alive? Hard cast a Mantis Rider. Parish gets a little bit bigger. Gets in for 3 damage. Tie somehow at 17. Reflector Mage at the ready. Gonna take a peek at the graveyard. Chris just trying to figure out what he's afraid of. The answer is everything.
Yeah, it really is everything.
Everything in Ty's deck. Ty gonna take a draw here. Fatal Push. Why not?
Yeah.
And that is going to get the handshake from Chris Iaali and Ty Copeland, moving on to 9-1-1. Crabvine looking pretty impressive there, Craig. I like what I see from this Crabvine deck. It's resilient.